So, My Hero Academia is pretty good. Seriously, this is one of those, if you haven't seen it, you probably have heard nothing but excessive adulation over it. It truly deserves every ounce of appraisal that it gets. My Hero Academia is almost as close as it gets to a perfect shonen anime. This is one of those where I feel like the anime kind of takes precedence over the manga. The voice acting, the color, the animation, the movement, it's so spectacular and so well done in the anime, and it does so much justice to the manga that I don't see why you would want to experience it any other way. And this isn't me shitting on the manga at all, like I'm saying that the anime does a good job, basically. It needs to be experienced with full animated movement and emotional voice acting and intense music and saturated color. It's one of those series that experiencing it in a black and white page format, I feel like doesn't do the story quite the justice it deserves. And if you haven't seen clips from the anime, I guess it's the difference in something like this as opposed to something like this. And I'm not saying don't read the manga, I'm just saying that this is one of those the anime should be watched. And I mean that in the best way possible. For the longest time, people have argued what will replace the big three of the last generation. Naruto and Bleach having gone kind of into their twilight, and with One Piece approaching its climax, everybody wonders what could possibly replace those monoliths of shonen anime. I don't know if there will be a big three, a big 4 or 5. People have referenced many other anime in the last 5 to 10 years of what it could or couldn't be. My Hero Academia is, for sure, without a doubt, the one single anime, whatever the big three or big whatever, the next big any anime, this is one of them. If nothing else, it's the front runner. Now, I'm not going to get too into detail about everything that's so good about it, because I'm sure you can go down a rabbit hole of everything that every other YouTuber has already said about it, but I guess I just want to throw my 2 cents in and just kind of rattle off the things that I like about My Hero Academia. Something I really like about this show is the characters. They're all useful. They're all interesting. They're all dynamic. They all have their own stories to tell. And this goes for the villains as well. Every single villain, every character, every hero, every whatever, they all feel real, grounded, and like they're living in this breathing world. See, something I hate about the old style of shonen anime is that usually it just boils down to really badass villain with a bunch of useless lackeys and Goku. Everyone else is useless, and then the Goku shows up, which is a trope that I think got really tired outside of Dragon Ball. But in this, everyone is useful. Deku, the main character, isn't always the strongest. He isn't always necessarily the best at anything. I like all of his contemporaries. They all feel like real high school kids. They feel like they have awkward, weird problems. They feel like they're going through that strange adolescent change in their life. And I like the relationship that each character has with each other. You know, it's not always just, again, many old-style shonen anime series just always boils down to the protagonist and then a bunch of background filler characters that he wants to protect. No, all these characters are here for a reason, and they all have their own agenda. Especially the villain characters. I always like a series when there's more than one style of villain. Like, there's more than one group, and even within those different groups and factions, there's other people at play and other villains with their own kind of thing going on, and everybody's working in and against each other. Or even in the system of heroes, you never know who's really on whose side, and it makes a far more complicated and intriguing story. And as far as characters, Deku's a good protagonist. He does his job. I'm sure he's many people's favorites, and by no means do I think he's a bad character at all. For me personally, he can be a bit grating with his optimism. Overall, I do think he is a really good Naruto Luffy style protagonist that wants to do good simply because he's a good person. But I think he doesn't fall too far into the old style Goku tropes. I think he's a good balance between what was great about the old and what's gonna be good about the new. And that's what I think is so good about My Hero in general. One character I don't care too much for, and I know I'll probably get flack for this, is Bakugo. And I know he's like, you know, the crowd favorite and everything, and people go crazy about Bakugo, but personally, I just... Listen, I know he's more nuanced than just being angry and having an explosive personality, but honestly, it's the voice. You don't have to scream every line of dialogue. I get it. You're mad. And I get your whole explosive personality coincides with your explosive abilities and all that, but my God. Just, like, you could just speak the lines of dialogue every once in a while. You'll get your point across. I promise. I really appreciate that they didn't take him down the Sasuke route or try to make him go the anti-hero route in some degree. I like that he is an actual hero. He wants to be a good guy. He really believes in truth, justice, and this classical idea of heroism. And I like that he's just doing it in his way that he sees fit, and that's cool. That's an interesting character. It's just, dude, shut the fuck up once in a while, please. For my favorite characters, it's gotta go to probably Shoto. Appreciate the duality of his characterization, and he's fire and ice, man. That shit's cool. But I like his personality. I like that he's kind of balancing between these two sides of who he wants to be and who he thinks he should be. And also his relationship with his father is kind of something that hits very close to home for me, especially the way that it's illustrated. You know, it's not just that he hates his dad or that he is estranged to his dad. It's an awkward relationship. His dad's trying, but he knows he fucked up, and Shoto knows that and kind of wants to forgive him, but also can't forget. So, you know, it's interesting and how he's trying to work around it and past it. And it's one of those weird things that I guess I can't really explain it because I've never seen something as well characterized to my own personal life as Shoto's relationship with his dad. I guess I see myself relating to Shoto a lot more than any other character. Except maybe it just, in my adult life, I definitely relate more to Aizawa. I also gotta give big ups to Mirio, another one of my favorite characters, and one of the reasons for this is I love what he represents to the idea of being a hero. There's something I have great appreciation for is when a writer takes a non-conventional power and makes it badass. He's just got Kitty Pryde's power. He just phases in and out of stuff, right? And you would think there's not much you could make use of with that power, but by God does he kick ass with this ability. And that's what I love, because it's easy to take someone like Deku's power and just take, yeah, Superman, that's your power. Or Bakugo, and yeah, you blow shit up. Or Shoto, you have fire and ice. But with Mirio, it's just phasing in and out of stuff. I feel like that's a difficult power to make badass, and yet somehow it gets done. And there's a lot of characters like that, like full-blown, well-decorated veteran heroes have non-conventional powers that you would never believe could ever be that strong or useful, but somehow my hero makes them fucking awesome. And I also love, this is why I also say it should be experienced in the anime, because it fully embraces everything that came before it and everything that it's paying homage to, everything that it represents. My Hero is so much of a love letter to previous shonen anime, comic books, comic book movies, TV series, other manga. Like, it's a complete celebration of everything that's classic and corny and campy. It still takes itself seriously, and I love that. I love that we're sort of entering an era where comic book movies are finally starting to allow themselves to embrace the campiness and the hokiness of the costumes and the exuberance and the flashiness and the corniness, and really go all out with what it is. Like, just embrace it. It's nerdy. It's fun. It's colorful. I love that in My Hero, they're called heroes and villains. The League of Villains is the League of Villains. That's their self-proclaimed title. It takes all the campiness and hokiness of the silver and golden age of comic books. It never feels laughable like the Adam West era of Batman. It can get dark and gritty like Christopher Nolan Batman. Yet it fully embraces the zaniness and the wacky colorfulness of Joel Schumacher Batman. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean that in the best way possible. And I think that's what makes My Hero so special, is that it takes the best, the darkest of the dark elements of the most gritty comic books in anime, as well as the corniest and hokiest of comic books in anime, and is able to blend them together and make this beautiful balance of a series that is both optimistic and fun, as well as dark and twisted and serious. And I think it's hard to do that, because sometimes people want to take themselves too seriously and completely go against the grain of conventional comic book style tropes, and then you get stuff like Zack Snyder films, where you take yourself too seriously. Or again, as I said, you could go completely to the other end and try to make something too kid-friendly, and then you get things like Schumacher and Adam West type products. But My Hero finds just really that perfect balance that no other show has, to me, really found. Something I also love is just a little touch of a detail that, with the characters' aesthetics, there does feel like a passing of time. Like when a character gets damaged in a certain way, they're scarred forever. Like usually in old shonen style anime, a character could only get permanently scarred when there was a major event that would happen, and there was a scar that was a constant signifier of whatever major event or battle that took place to change their life forever. But in this, like, no, Deku, he punches the hell out of stuff, shatters his arm, and then he's got scars forever. I like that. And you still, later on, you see those same scars. Or like that scene when Aizawa, this villain, makes him eat shit. The whole rest of the series, this dude's got a scar under his eye. Like, that's there forever. And it wasn't some big, major event that changed his entire life. It's like, no, this is just shit that happens, and they have to deal with it. And I like that the show can go from arcs about this child who's in distress and basically kidnapped and being abused and harmed, to then turning around and talking about having a school assembly and putting on this little concert and everyone's all happy and singing about friendship. Like, I like that it can go from one to the other and it never feels out of place. I love that these characters find ways to integrate their costumes into their personas and to help better utilize their powers. I also love the character of All Might. I think it's cool that there's a character that from the very beginning is basically a dying Superman. Something that can get old and tired is when you have an all-powerful character lingering in the show that can just always swoop in and save the day. There was something more to what he represented because he was losing his powers. Just the idea of him was more important than what he could actually do. And it created much more tense situations knowing that there were times that this character actually couldn't display acts of superheroism. He was just putting on a facade because he was a shell of what he used to be. I like how this show tackles ideas of what a hero is and what it's supposed to be. What it means to save people. What it means to be an icon. What it means to be a pillar of hope for humanity. What it means to smile in the face of danger and save people. I love that it tackles all these ideas, but then it can also tackle ideas of estranged family and abuse victims, psychological trauma, child abuse. There's so many things in this show that it balances so many different ideas. And then it can just go to a school dance. It never tries to take itself too seriously, yet it always gets taken seriously by its audience. That's a hard thing to achieve, but I think that's a result of when writers, editors, animators, authors, when creators, when they take their work seriously and they have faith in the work that they're making, I think it shows through the work. And I think the adoration that this series has received and all the praise it is getting is well worth it. And if you haven't seen it and are a lover of comic books and anime alike, you need to watch My Hero Academia.